Hey guys, Davin here at Brewbitz.com. Behind the camera as usual we've got James. Say hello James. I've got a little party coming up soon and I checked my stocks of red wine and I haven't got very much left, so I thought I would brew up some more. And I haven't tried yet one of these SG Wines Platinum kits, so I thought I would brew up the Merlot. And this is a 7-day wine kit. I've had good reviews from our customers about them. As I said, just haven't brewed one up myself yet. It used to be called Solomon Grundy, if you remember that brand. And so it takes 7 days to brew it, and I tend with these guys to put them in the bottles for about a month after I've finished fermenting them, just to let them bottle condition. I tend to find they usually are pretty good. So why not brew one up? What am I going to need though? So I'm going to need a couple of brewing buckets. I'm going to need some steriliser. I'm going to need my hydrometer and trial jar, thermometer, a siphon, long spoon, something to bottle it with, something to put it in, which is the bottles, some corks, and my trusty corker. I don't know if I said anything to sterilise it with, but I have done now. Right, now we've got all of that together, let's get brewing. Let's see what's inside the box. So we've got a packet here. Let's have a look inside of here, see what comes in here. Oh. Good, they've made it tough to get in. So we have a pack of yeast and nutrient. We've got a stabiliser. We've got a pack of Finings chitosan and a pack of Finings kisasol and some instructions. Okay, and then in here, I'm going to take it out. Let's take it out. We have got a big bag of grape juice concentrate. Right, come on in James and have a look at this. I'm going to try and do this wrong-handed. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to try and do it right-handed for you. So in here, you'll see the cap's got a little gap. You can do the blunt end, and it is literally, get your knife in there and pop it open. And then we go for a nice pour. Careful, because it is thick, it's dark red, you get it on anything, it's going to stain. There we go. Now in here we've still got loads of lovely juice, so I'm going to get that lovely juice out just by filling the bag with a little bit of water. Ooh. Giving it a bit more slosh. And we can do that again a couple of times until the bag is lovely and clear. Ready to top our grape juice concentrate up to 23 litres, that's 5 gallon mark. Now we've topped it up, we need to give it a really good stir to mix all that concentrated grape juice with all the water. And then once we've given it a really good stir, got it all mixed in, I hate doing that, shouldn't do that, tap it on the top that is, we can take a reading with our hydrometer, and I've done that already, and that's coming out at 1.080-ish. So write that down on your instructions, and I'll double check that the temperature is about right. Yeah, it's 20 smack on, so we are ready to add our yeast. Now it's in here, let's find it a second. Don't get these two packets mixed up. One is called stabiliser, one's called yeast and yeast nutrient. If you put the stabiliser in, you're just going to have sweet grape juice and it will never ever ferment. So make sure at this stage we're using the right packet. So yeast and yeast nutrient. Let me find my scissors. And this gets sprinkled on top. Like so. And then we're going to get in and give it a good little stirring in. Get all that yeast mixed in. There's quite a bit of yeast here. So this is going to get going pretty quickly, and because it's a red wine, red wines tend to be quite lively. So you might find that when this is going to ferment, it might foam up quite a bit. Right. Okay. Let me just find my lid. There's my lid. So my lid's now going to go on. Not totally everywhere. I'm going to leave a little gap up here. And this is now going to go into my warm place at between 18 and 22 degrees C, ideally about 20. And it should ferment out in about 5 days. But if it doesn't quite ferment out in 5 days, we can leave it a couple of days longer. So, into my warm place now for about 5 days. The SG Platinum Merlot has been fermenting away now for 5 days. It's been a really vigorous fermentation, and I've had it, you can see all down the sides where it's been, you can look at the top, it's really gone absolutely everywhere. But it's settled down, and so I've taken a sample in my trial jar, and with my hydrometer I can see it's coming out at 0.998. So I know it's been all settled down, it's now ready for us to move on. So down here I have got another bucket. Sorry James, I lifted it up out of your way. And inside my bucket I've got my simple siphon. I've sterilised both of these, so all I'm going to do now is untangle it. Once I've untangled it, in it goes, quick suck on this end, get the flow going, and now put that end down as far as it will go into the bucket and siphon it off from this top bucket. Now down at the bottom here there's a load of sediment, and so we are going to try not to disturb that. So as we get a little bit closer and further down, we'll start tilting the bucket to make sure we get as much wine and as little sediment as possible. So as you see, by tilting the bucket you can get more wine out of it and hopefully leave as much sediment as, it's going to be about it, as much sediment as possible. Up to the top. Okay. So the next job we need to do is something called degassing. And degassing basically is getting all the carbon dioxide that's been dissolved in here out. So as the yeast were eating away at the sugars, there was a load of carbon dioxide given off. A lot of it you probably saw coming off the top. If you've got an airlock, you'd have seen it bubbling up through the bubbler. But some of that carbon dioxide actually gets dissolved into the wine. So what we need to do now, so that we can clear the wine nicely, is to get it out. Now, you can do it by popping a spoon in there and giving it a really good old going with a spoon for 10 minutes. Or you can use one of these things. This is a degasser, and it basically takes all the hard work out of it. Okay, so the nice easy job for me is to pop it in and get it going. Not too fast, as you saw, because it will spurt everywhere. But the idea is to get it going, 30 seconds one way. You can see all the carbon dioxide starting to come out already. And then after 30 seconds, you turn your around and you go the other way. So as I said, if you're doing this by hand, you're going to be knocking it out and really going for it for 10 minutes. Hopefully with this drill, it should take me about 5 minutes. As you can see, I've got a lot of foam on top where all the carbon dioxide bubbled out. And now it's time to add our stabiliser. So in here is potassium sorbate. And potassium sorbate is going to kill any remaining yeast. Okay, quickly that disappears down as soon as we've added it. And he's got a couple of other things in there as well, so that it stopped all our yeast action. So you can either get in there again with your whiz stick, or if you've got your spoon, you can get in there with a spoon. It's up to you. I'm just going to get in here with a whiz stick and make sure that that stabiliser gets through every single part of the wine from top to bottom. Now that that's stirred in, we need to put the lid on and leave it for an hour for the stabiliser to do its job. It's been an hour since we added the stabiliser, so now we're going to add finings A. And finings A, I know it doesn't look very much, but all it's going to do is it's going to grab hold of all those little microscopic particles that are floating around that you can't really see. And it's going to cause them to combine together, and this is the way the finings works, and clump up and become too heavy that they can't float around anymore and they sink to the bottom. So anyway, we've added finings A, so we need to give it a good stirring now to get finings A all mixed in. There we go. Now, lid goes back on, and we need to leave this for another hour. It's been an hour since we added finings A, so now it's time to add the big pack of finings B. And again, just like finings A, this is going to help attract all those little particles that are floating around in the wine and cause them to all clump together and sink to the bottom. Okay, so that goes in, sterilised spoon, give it a really good stirring to mix it all in. Just takes a moment. The smell is absolutely gorgeous from this Merlot already. It smells of like blackberries and dark fruits, black currants, and great. But for now, the lid goes back on, and this now needs to be left in a place that is not going to be disturbed for the next 48 hours. And as I said, over those next 48 hours, this wine is going to dramatically clear, and it's suddenly going to end up with loads and loads of sediment at the bottom. So, 48 hours, don't move it. The Platinum Merlot has been sat carefully clearing for the last 48 hours. And so down here, I've got a sterilised bucket and my siphon, and if you can just about see down at the bottom, we have got a layer of sediment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to siphon the wine off of this sediment into a new sterilised bucket. Being very careful not to disturb the sediment at the top of the top bucket. Okay, so we don't need this bucket, all the horrible gloop in it, and down here we've got our siphoned wine. Oh, it's very heavy. So I'm just going to pop the lid on for the moment because I'm going to talk to you about what I'm going to do next. Now, here I've got a filter, it's called the Harris Mark III filter, and I'm going to run this wine through the filter. Now I'm not going to do it on camera because we've got another video showing you how to use this. I think the wines, no matter what grade of wine you do, really improves it if you're able to filter it. We've got these available on the website as well, so go check that out. So I'm using a Buon Vino mini jet filter here to filter the red wine. The little filter works exactly the same way, this just pumps it through a little bit quicker. Because I've filtered it, and I've filtered it all the way down to here, through the Buon Vino filter, I obviously had a few too many sips, it's now gone through something called filter shock, so I need to leave this for 24 hours before I bottle it. It's been 24 hours since I filtered my wine, so here I've got a load of bottles that I have sterilised and rinsed out, and down here I have got my bottling wand, and turn on the tap and fill it up from the bottom. Takes a while, as soon as it gets to the top you just pop it down, and then we've got the perfect amount of space to get the cork in. Oops, there we go. I didn't catch when that came, and that came a little bit faster than I was expecting. Right, that's one done. Quite a few more to go. And remember, I did say that this is drinkable immediately, and after it's been filtered, straight away, this is pretty good red wine. I think after a couple of months in the bottle, that is going to be nice. Finished filling the bottles, so now it's time to get the corks in. So here on the hob, I have got some sodium metabisulfate solution that's just come to the boil. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to pop in 30 corks. Now I'm going to leave that, back to me James, I'm going to leave that in there to steam for about a minute, and that will allow the corks to soften slightly, but even more importantly to make sure they're absolutely lovely and decontaminated, to make sure they've got no nasties on it. So when we put that in the bottles, we're not going to get any problems. Right, so over here James, I'm using today a two-handled corker. And once these have had a bit of a time to soak, not much, pop one out, knock it off, drop it in the corker, and with one nice smooth action, in it goes. Right, that's bottle one done. I've got a few more to go. That's all the bottles corked. So all we have to do now is make it look pretty. So I've made some labels, and I've also got some shrink caps around somewhere. So I'm going to put the shrink caps on first, like so. And if you've not seen our video on the other page of how to do it, I simply get one of these things, a hot air gun, let it heat up, and very quickly shrinks it down all the way down. There we go. We have one done. I'll put a quick label on it. Ta-da! And there we have our first bottle of Platinum Merlot, and it does actually taste quite nice. Very early, but as I say, give it this. Lots of lovely black currants and stuff like that going on there. It's absolutely really nice. So these bottles now, once I've finished doing all the prettiness, they need to be stood up for the next 48 hours. That's going to allow the corks to set into place. And then once the corks have set in place, we lie them down, put them somewhere nice and cool, in a cellar if you've got one, or I just tend to leave mine in boxes in the garage. And then ideally, if you can leave them for a month, fantastic. The flavour will improve greatly. If you can leave them for 3 months, even better. And then just pop one open and enjoy. So I've got a few more to do, but for now I'm going to say cheers guys, happy brewing, and if you've made a platinum kit, obviously down in the comments below, if you've got any questions, then feel free to ask them, and I'll try and answer them as quickly as I can. But for now, have fun, happy brewing, enjoy Merlot.